initiated. Just tell me that you won't ever let me go. You in mine, in mine. I was made to you. 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 I was made to you.
Hello.
Wow, that was amazing.
Yeah, it really
I
was.
apologize for
That
my
was
audio.
incredible.
Sorry.
Haha, no, it's all right. That was dope. So sweet. Loved it. Just loved the music. And high energy too. Seriously, just like seriously cooking in the kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah. I mean that's a live show for sure. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in. Had a lot of people watching, a lot of people commenting over on Facebook,
Oh,
on
awesome.
Twitch. Yeah. Super cool crew on Twitch over there. Shout out to those
I love my
those
Twitch fam.
folks. Yeah, the Twitch fam they're super nice, like what a great community. YouTube, Instagram, thank you for everybody tuning in. Really nice to see you all. I see some super familiar names. Lots of fun. For those of you that are just tuning in or have been watching and didn't know what you were watching, that's Allium. Otherwise, AKA, it's Tess, right? People call you Tess.
Yeah.
Tess Fornari.
Yes.
Tess is a solo EDM producer, DJ, vocalist.
Yeah.
Just a diverse set of original music.
Renaissance
Amazing.
woman.
Yeah, totally.
Nick loves that term. He says it like every day.
What did I say? What is
Renaissance man. You love that. She
Totally.
just called her Renaissance woman.
It's perfect. It totally nails it. Yeah, I know you're working on a lot of other stuff, and I can't wait to hear more about that.
Awesome.
I was reading, there was a Lori Stratton posted something in her blog, and I really liked what she wrote, but I just want to share it with people because it felt on point to me, and I really love like her blog and how she writes about local artists and musicians in Southeast Michigan. But she said that you were going to shapeshift into a cyberspace priestess and galactic traveler who emits a cyber sound or a cyberpunk sound to Earth, bringing raging bass and thumping house music via beachy vibe to all alien life forms. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. I would say that I'm definitely like a cyberspace priestess. There's actually lore to like my characters, so
Oh,
I
we
could
got to talk
totally-
about that.
Yeah.
We got to talk about that. Let's do that because it's associated with your name, obviously, Allium.
Yeah.
So so tell us about the persona. And some people just like that tuned in later didn't see the mask.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah, I decided to take it off because I was sweaty. So.
yeah, for sure. That's got to be hard in like live sets in the summertime, right?
Oh yeah.
In the
It's
club or wherever. Yeah.
yeah. Well, ever since I added a microphone to it, I've had to cover up the side with the mic so I wouldn't get feedback. So
Oh
I
yeah.
have like only half of the air going through it that I usually
Right.
have. So it's
Mm.
a little bit stressful to deal with.
I
Um,
believe it. I believe it. You're brave like that. And you know what? When I first saw your photo and then like let's start listening to your music, I was like, wow, this is super relevant that you're like wearing a mask right
Yeah,
now.
you're
I
ahead of
know,
the
like
curve.
I think it's interesting how the cyberpunk aesthetic is becoming like this almost like popular thing because of everything else going on in the world.
Yeah.
So like originally it was just me wearing a mask like, oh, this is a cool look. Like I enjoy this. And I played World of Warcraft as a kid and like my main was a rogue, so I would always wear like the lower face mask. And that just like was kind of how I connected to this like specific look. And all of a sudden it's like the world is turning into a cyberpunk world and it's just like so weird how everything is like doing that, I
It
guess.
it does feel a little bit cyberpunk. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good
Futuristic.
way to describe it actually. I need to upgrade my my cyberpunk vibe too.
Do it.
I did order a mask. I ordered it on Amazon. It's not quite as creative as yours, but it's definitely black, and it's got like this valve thing on the side, so I feel a little cyberpunk when I'm wearing it. Just trying to enjoy myself when I got to go out in public and like scare people while I'm grocery shopping, looking a little bit like rough around the edges, you know, with my torn up
Yeah.
jean jacket and black. I just wear black all the time, so you got that going on too.
Yeah. That's totally my vibe for some reason. It's just like wearing more like monotone colors. And yeah, it totally would go with a mask. So, and it's honestly like a simple look and it's like an easy look to put together and always depend on because you can just go out while wearing all black and you'll know that like in your closet everything will match because it's all black. So,
I am so with you on that. My friends chide me all the time because they're like, "Dude, do you actually wear any color?" And I'm like, "Not really," because the nice thing is it's like less decisions to make. I could just open up the closet and be like, everything matches together. It's black, it's gray, it's simple.
yeah. Yeah.
I
it makes it
appreciate
easy.
that. So so let's I want to talk about like the name, like going back to the whole cyberpunk aesthetic, the cyberspace priestess thing. Like what are you into that like brought you to this the persona? But
Yeah.
obviously there's the music, but not totally separate. So where did that all come from?
Yeah, so I started making music when I was 14 after I had gone to an astronomy camp. And for some reason, I had like, I guess, like a spiritual awakening, just like being on, it was in Kitt Peak, Arizona, where they have like a bunch of observatories. And I was just like, I was there and like we were like looking at the stars and kind of having this awareness of where we were in the universe. And I kind of like really needed to express that when I came home. And my brother at the time was making electronic music too. So I had decided like, hey, brother. He might have been in the chat too. His name is Cobertos, or he goes by Cobertos.
Oh yeah,
Um,
he's
and
listening right now.
oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Hi, Peter.
Peter, what's up?
Shout out to Peter. And so I was like, hey, brother, can I use this production software that you are using? And he helped me install it, and I like figured out how to make electronic music over like a period of, I don't know, it was like 4 years, like 3 years, and then I went to college for it. So I'm currently enrolled at U of M studying sound engineering and a bachelor's of performing arts technology. So that like ties into how I like started making electronic music, and so that's like I guess a backstory. But I'm really good at rambling. I'm sorry.
No, this is
what
you're
we
on the
want.
you're in the perfect place for rambling. That's
Okay.
yeah.
You
It's
know,
actually better.
Not only are you a producer, you're also a vocalist.
Yes.
Did that come after you started producing music, or did that was that something you've always done?
that was something I always did. So when I was in like elementary school and high school, I was in like choir. So I don't know if it was like 8 to 10 years that I was doing that. So I had a lot of like um, performance background in doing like choral music like in church. So that's kind of like where that started. And my grandpa would also sing with me like on the way to school and stuff while I was like little, and he would drive me to school. And so I just like had been honing that skill without like really knowing it over like a period of like years. And then I got to college and I started like changing the way I sang and like focusing on the timbre and like how I wanted it to sound. And so I kind of developed my vocal technique like as I decided what I was going to do with my music and as I decided like what specific aesthetic I wanted. So, and it took a long time. Like it's not easy to just say, "Hey, I want to sing like this." But eventually like I figured out how to also help it along with like some effects and stuff in Ableton Live, and that's kind of like how it formed and how I became a vocalist like over a period of years.
So,
Yeah, I love how you like edit your voice and make it fit like that robotic space kind of theme. It definitely fits very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally agree. I love, so many of the artists that we've had on here so far. Like we get into the whole like, yeah, I was in choir, I was in band, I was immediately connect because I've actually been a guitar player for a long time, and that's my instrument. But I respect every instrument that anybody plays. Honestly, it's
Yeah.
especially when you have such a command, and the electronic game is a thing. I don't I'm learning, but I was in choir too. That was my thing. That's how music happened. But I love hearing that backstory to the music. What like how did you first get into music? You mentioned like your grandfather, and like was there a moment where like, oh, music is the thing I'm gonna do? Because now you mentioned electronic music, music technology. There was a thing
Yeah.
part of what you're studying now. So
Mhm.
talk about that a little bit. Like how did you first get into it, and then how do you end up doing what you're doing now?
So I had like quite a journey to get to where I am now. Uh, so I originally just did music like on the side, like in high school. That was kind of just something I was doing in addition to competitive running. So I later went to a different university for cross country, but then I decided I wanted to go to U of M and study music instead because it just like didn't fit exactly what I wanted to do. Because I just like didn't get that fulfillment out of like exercising and running that I could get from making music. So like I had always had music as something I turned to when I was like feeling like in like a really strong emotional state, and I needed something to outlet it to. Um, and I really love the ability to express absolutely anything with electronic music because it's absolutely limitless. It has to be like the most powerful instrument in the world, if you could call it that. Like a DAW is just crazy. It's just this crazy canvas of just infinity on which you can paint sound. Like I was hooked after like the first day of making electronic music even because I was just like so enthralled with the idea that I could like create anything. Like I had never really been in a space like in a creative space where like I had infinite potential and like possibility, and that felt like something I was really like really into and I really clicked with. So
I
yeah.
love, yeah, I love the fact. I love the infinite possibility piece. I think it's true. I do look at the electronics as an instrument. I think if you went back, I don't know, 20 years, whatever, however far you go back. I mean, even at the when turntables became an instrument, right? And there were
Yeah.
always going to be people that said, "Oh, well, not that's not that's not a real instrument, or that's not real music."
real.
There was a time, I think, when people said that. I think some older generations said that. My parents said that because I
People have
was
said that about hip hop too, and now it's
totally,
Yeah.
the
totally,
most popular form of
yeah,
music in the world.
Yeah.
100%. And there the even the technical ability to be able to create music in different DAWs, like that's that's not just a skill, but there's a lot of talent involved. And your music is amazing. Like
Thank you.
it's definitely on the playlist consistently at this point. So yeah, thank you for doing the live performance.
Yeah, thank you for having me so much. This was really, really fun.
It's cool. I like that you chose to do it in your kitchen too.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Just cooking up fresh beats.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got that right away. As soon as you said you were going to do it in the kitchen, we were like, nice.
Yeah.
So going back to like, so where you are now, right?
Yeah.
You know, it says that you have this interest in futurism and you're working with electronics. You know, talk about that kind of that experience right now in terms of the university life and what's going on with that, and how do you see that, you know, in the future? Like, where do you go? I'm not saying you have to know everything, but what's next with
Yeah.
what's going on now and now?
Next for me artistically, or
Yeah, I mean, artistically,
Mhm.
career wise, because you know
oh yeah.
what you're studying, you know, there's a lot of different paths you could take, but what are you thinking about currently?
Future wise for like a career, I've thought about going and like mastering music, but I wanted also to do something more creative, so I wasn't sure like I'm still not really sure like what I'm going to do. Like as a college student, I barely know what I'm doing tomorrow, like
Fair enough.
um
Totally.
but I see myself doing something that fulfills me creatively and something where I can like move around a lot because I do actually have trouble like sitting for a long time. So that is actually going to be like a pretty big component in what I end up doing. So I imagine I'll be working in a studio at least for a while after I graduate because there's just like more movement and there's just more like mental stimulation, like working with people and like walking around. And it is creative in the sense that like mic techniques can be really, really interesting to like work with and, you know, experiment with and things like that. So I am probably looking at like being in a recording studio like setting or working with soundtracks, which is something I've done. I've worked for Harman Kardon, which is like JBL AKG, and I was making sounds for their electric vehicles for a while. So we were building software for their to like create engine sound basically because they don't make any sounds. So I was doing that for like a semester and a summer, and that was really fun.
Yeah, that's freaking sweet.
Yeah. So I
love
see
that.
myself also doing that, hopefully.
I would actually request more futuristic and robot like sounds in my car. I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
Like-
that would
like-
be so cool.
Yeah, if the door opens up or something, I want to hear like zzz, you know, or something like that.
Like big servos moving around.
Absolutely. I'm totally down with that. I like to feel like I'm living in the future. That's so cool. So you mentioned the two programs of study. I'm having a hard time recalling them. So what were those programs of study? Because the second one kind of intrigued me, and I didn't know exactly what it meant.
So I was originally going for just sound engineering, but I recently switched to a bachelor's in performing arts technology with a concentration in sound engineering, which
Very
is like
cool.
a long title.
Yeah, it is.
But,
It is.
yeah.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
Performance art technology.
Yeah.
So what's involved in that so far for you?
So I've taken classes. So I've had to do like a lot of math requirements because like a lot of coding that we do ends up being necessary. Like there's a lot of mathematics involved in some of the performance systems we design. So this past semester I was able to work with like DC motors and working with microcontrollers to control certain variables either in my computer so I could connect that to Max for Live and work with Ableton and talk to get like microcontrollers to talk to my computer, which can help me in performance to achieve a specific goal. So performing arts technology is sort of a broad term, but that is like encapsulated in that. So that's only one class I took. Other stuff that's under that major includes studying like mic techniques and recording studio stuff. So like EQing stuff, working in the studios, doing mastering, mixing, arranging.
Which is super
I've also done
beneficial,
that.
like, as an artist, you know, like
Yeah.
how has that helped evolve your music?
So I actually switched to Ableton Live from FL Studio because of a class. And so doing that actually helped me in the sense that it allowed me to use Max for Live, which kind of gave me the idea that, oh, I should attach a microcontroller with LEDs on it and like have those light up while I'm like dancing around and have those be audio reactive. So I'm like trying to develop more like a more diverse looking like bodysuit of LEDs eventually. So that's kind of the goal. So that's also like how it's been helping me, but also I think one of my classes was an arranging class and we had to make music as our assignment. And that helped me get outside of my comfort zone a lot because they would have me do things that I had never really done before musically. And then I would go on to like use that technique in one of my independent works and then discover my like new sounds that I made. So I think that's part of like the benefit of having like classes where like they tell you what to do basically.
Did you do you mix and master your own music?
I do, yeah. I think I've mixed and mastered everything I've released. So
That's awesome. It sounds
yeah.
great. That's for
Thank
sure.
you. Thank you.
You know, you talk about the LED gear and stuff. Can you talk to us a little bit about like the mask that you wear and
Yeah.
the rest of your stage setup?
Just like all of the stuff I use. Yeah.
Yeah, give us a little like help people understand the mask setup a little bit more and like why that's important in a typical set. Other than the fact that it does get hot.
Yeah. So the mask has the ability to be plugged into my computer and it has an animation that I designed that like shows like a gain meter on the front as I speak. So there is, I don't know if you can see, there is like a mic attached to the inside. It's a very small condenser mic. So that will normally go into my interface and then into my computer, but I didn't have enough inputs on my specific interface I have right now, so I couldn't run that program specifically.
If you sing live, do you sing like into the mask or do you use like a set?
So when I sing live, I would usually sing into the mask, but I haven't been able to find like a signal flow pattern or anything that like processes it enough to make it sound like differentiate it from the music. I did do it once at Necto nightclub. I was working with the sound tech there, and I was able to like talk to the audience with my mask, and it did have the animation running. And there's also like another, I don't know if I have it, but there's also like another like arm attachment I made with a button on it that has a light. It's in the other room. I could go get it, but it's like I'll just get it. One second.
You're muted, Rick.
I love how she's incorporating all of this technology, outside the obvious stuff, right? Like whatever DAW you're using, production software, your engineering, your mastering, and all that, and bringing it into this like wearable technology stuff. I think it's truly cool.
So I have this like arm connector, this I don't even know what to call it, like a plate that goes on my arm that has a button on it and a little LED that I like wired up to a mask. So I have like two masks, just one for testing. And this has like the LED module on it with it has the same pinout and everything. So this I wore once at Necto nightclub, and this is how I was like toggling the vocals on and off. And I can send messages from this microcontroller into Ableton, which lets me toggle sound on and off. So I don't even have to like worry about dealing with the mic button on the mixer. So Yeah.
I think it's remarkable. I really I super geek out about stuff like this. I'm not creative in that way. Like from a I work in technology. I've worked in technology for many years. It's kind of IT kind of stuff. Less creative endeavors, but I love hearing you talk about how you've hooked all this stuff up. It's super cool. It totally fits with the this post-apocalyptic vibe we have going on right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like a weird coincidence. I know, and I think we all hope that it's temporary, but
Yeah.
I really appreciate that you're doing this stuff. I think I'm surprised more people don't dabble in because the technology's. I mean, what you're using it's not expensive to do. You just have to know how to do it right, and also
Yeah.
like make it look cool. Is that accurate?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I built these out of cardboard and I painted them with like some acrylic paint that I had and just figured out like how I could use what I had to create what I like envisioned. So I guess like it's a matter of like working with the restraints and the limitations of your current situation and making something of it. And in some ways that's like kind of what inspired it. I was like, what if I could make a mask just like right now? And I ended up just like basically building this out of like breadboarding cables on the side here and just using like Velcro from something and a lot of hot glue. And that's just kind of how I ended up building stuff.
That's
Amazing, because you'd never know. I mean, just from your your professional photographs and everything, online, like it just looks sweet.
Seems so legit.
You've broken open the secret that it's actually like made out of cardboard. They're like, no, I thought it was made out of titanium or something. Something. That's just probably the next step, though, right? Like when you can craft it out of some other kind of I don't know. That might be too hot though. Like I don't know, metal masks.
I can probably make it because there is like this is only like nylon tights and some like something I cut off a screen door. I probably shouldn't have, but
it's amazing.
So yeah, there was like a big square like hole in my screen door in one of my apartments, and I was like, hopefully the next tenant like doesn't get mad, but
and hopefully
I got billed for that.
Oh, did you get billed for it?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Well, okay. I was gonna say like hopefully the old landlord isn't like somehow watching or something. Be like that's what happened there. Now I know why there was a hole in the screen.
Yeah, and then they see my photos with my mask and like that's where it went.
Hey, you got to be creative. Like I love that story. That's amazing.
Have you worn that mask to the grocery store yet?
No, I haven't. I was going to, but then I was like, I don't know if it's gonna like keep all the air out because of the side.
Yeah.
But also maybe I should wear it because it looks cool and it lights up.
No, yeah, I definitely think.
I
Probably
keep
works
thinking
just as good as just a regular cloth mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get the PPE filters on Amazon. Maybe you could slip a couple of those in there. Those are pretty cheap.
Oh,
but
dude, that'd be so cool actually, because then it would be like functional in that sense, and I feel like that would add a little bit to it.
I think that's the thing with the whole mask wearing thing. Like I'm starting to actually see people get like kind of stylish with it, which is an interesting thing. A good friend of mine, he's got a company basically that they do apparel and stuff, but it's called the Beware, and if Curtis is watching, I'm shouting out to you, but he's like branding his his Beware stuff, and the happiness and love is part of their like whole vision or whatever, and so it's got like the logo and like a smiley face on it and stuff. Like
that's awesome.
I like the cyberpunk vibe though, like totally. I guess if you have to wear a mask, you might as well look fresh doing it, right?
Honestly, yeah. And it has a mic in it, so I guess I could like hack something together and like attach it to my phone, and then I could like talk to people.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be even better actually, because I was out at the grocery store, and I'm trying to talk through plexiglass through this mask, and they're like, I can't hear you, and I don't have a super loud voice, so I'm like shouting at this person through my mask, through the plexiglass. I'm thinking that'd be perfect if I could just hold my phone up. Maybe that's part of the next development. You could have a whole line of Allium mask apparel or something like that.
That'd be awesome, actually.
Yeah,
I would
Patent that now, right after we said that.
I'm not even kidding. I would buy one. I would 100% buy one.
They're
Even
not
if they
even
were
like
just
that hard
cloth.
to build. But
Even if they were just cloth and had that same like design as your mask,
yeah,
that would be super sick.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then,
And then you could add like animations to the vocals. This is like a brainstorming session now.
that's totally fine. We're down with that.
But
We'll talk
Rick,
later.
you mentioned like happiness and love, and that made me think of your escapism EP. Actually, it has a very positive, happy, and spacey kind of sound, and the art and message and music fit so well together, and just put off such a like vibe. That all
Yeah.
of it together is like the same thing. Can you talk a little bit about the process of creating that album and your inspirations for it and what it means to you?
So I actually like wrote like a big like thing about it the other day because I wanted to like flesh out like exactly like what I was thinking, and I wanted to like preserve the ideas behind that. I'll have to publish that soon. But it's kind of all about like different kinds of love and how like and like appreciation and gratefulness for like things around me and for like people around me. So like each song is like love in like a different way. So I guess I could go through each song.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I listened to every single song today, and I absolutely love it. So if you're listening, definitely go check it out. Is SoundCloud the best place to see that, or it's probably on Bandcamp too?
Yeah, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Spotify. I think it's also on Apple Music. So it's also there.
And
Yeah.
it's to be clear for everybody listening and watching, it's tessallium.bandcamp.com.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Allium was taken.
And Tess, is it Tess Allium on SoundCloud as well?
Yeah, it should be.
Cool. Yeah, look it up for sure. It's fantastic stuff. But yeah, talk us through the songs a little bit.
So I guess Up was about, what did I write? So Up was about more being in love with, so originally it was about weed. So I had tried weed for the first time near that time, and I guess it was kind of like being in love with like how it made me feel and like how I associated it with the person that I was with.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was kind of like being appreciative of the fact that I could just like hang out with like a friend or like someone I was in a relationship with and like feel like grateful that I could be like safe in that environment and that I could just like I could be like in that like altered mental state and feel completely safe like with someone in that like sense.
Mm.
So that song was definitely about that, and it was like a joy and feeling that I was like safe with someone. And so okay, and then another song that I wrote, I believe Carry Me, that one's about a specific person. And that one's just like feeling like someone can make you feel high but not actually be high. So that song
Absolutely.
is more about being appreciative of like a person and them being there for you and them making you feel really happy, but also being like slightly taken aback with the fact that like, wow, like you're amazing, what the heck. Like so it's sort of like that sense of like being in love and like almost like, yeah, just like being surprised but also like happy and grateful about it.
I really like that. I think a lot of people can relate to that too.
Yeah.
I mean both sides of it, right? Like the high of love, or and we're definitely I would say activists in terms of cannabis and making sure that it's not treated as a crime. It seems so silly at this point in time, after like looking back on how cannabis in general has been treated like throughout my life, and now finally seeing that it's being treated as something that it's really like almost therapy. I mean, it is therapeutic for
Yeah.
people, you know, and so that feeling of safety, like even though your altered state is happening, right? It's not this out of control thing that it's been painted to be.
Yeah.
And it's really more associated with the things that you're talking about, right? Like feeling safe, and feeling safe with this person. I just really love that. I love the sentiment of that, and I particularly love when people are just super free about talking about it, because for so long people are like, oh yeah, I don't want to know, I don't want anybody to know that
Yeah.
that's something I do or whatever. You know, there is a generation of people that are not willing to disclose that, and I think it's awesome. I think it's, if we're going to normalize anything in this world, that's something it's okay to normalize. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think it's okay to normalize, and I think it's important in the sense that we make art that kind of creates that kind of message, that like that it can be a positive thing. Even like there are times at which it like the use of it should be careful, but that goes with like anything. And I think like I definitely like advocate for like safe use of weed, like if you're doing it for the right reasons, and if you're like with the right people, sort of like what the song is about. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the safe use of weed and other drugs is very important to talk about, because even like legal drugs, I mean, weed's legal now in most places, but even like other like prescription drugs and stuff can very easily be used in an unsafe way.
Yeah.
100%. Yep.
But I like what you pointed out, Rick, about how it had been portrayed as like this crazy state that it puts you in, but it's really not. It's really more of a medicinal kind of thing, and if you use it in a safe way, and obviously you can use it too much too, and people get addicted to it, just like people get addicted to exercising, or people get addicted to anything. But I honestly think it teaches you some good self-control, because you can't just sit around and smoke weed all day.
Yeah.
It just your life won't go in a very positive direction.
You can. It's just
It's
like
possible.
exactly what you
I
said.
tested it out. It didn't work out too well.
It's quite possible, but yeah, you don't wind up, it can be demotivating potentially. So,
Yeah.
no, it's great. I can't wait to, honestly, like I was in my car today. I had to drive somewhere. I had to drive several places, and I was listening to music. I can't wait to get in my car again. It's like one of my favorite places to listen to music, and like totally jam on your stuff.
Aw, that's awesome.
But I appreciate your breakdown of the Escapism EP.
Yeah.
Super dope. Your most recent release, the Robosexual single, I
Yeah.
believe is your most recent. It's much more kind of dubstep and bass heavy than a lot of the other stuff that you've released.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that song a bit, and what brought on that change, and if you're going to continue in that direction?
Yeah. So that song was more just like claiming my independence like as an artist, and for some reason like I really attached that with my sexuality, and sort of that being like my like a piece of my power, I guess, in a sense. So I wear the mask, and I wear like all this like robotic gear, and I'm sort of like becoming this like cybernetically altered human in a sense. And so it's sort of a way of like blurring the lines between human and like machine, and like altering my body with like these things that like help me with music specifically. So I guess like Robosexual is a way that I started like diving into the character and kind of like being that like bodily and being that like mentally. And like as a human, like I feel like one of the most like organic things is like using your body, I guess.
That's so true, though.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, so many people, I think, probably are, maybe ashamed, or because society is, put you into this corner, and I think it's really interesting to go into that, because I was even thinking as a woman and in the music industry, right? It's a
Mhm.
very male dominated industry, and we've talked about this with other artists. Um, like having that persona and that power. I mean, you're clearly super brilliant and smart and doing like amazing things. Um, you know, using your body as a woman. There's people that want to debate about, oh, you shouldn't or you should or whatever.
Mhm.
But in terms of like that role, um, do you think that's important for female artists to do, like to use that as a part of their art, or is it's just a choice as an artist?
I guess it's definitely depends on the person. Don't I don't personally like use it for personal gain, but I use it for expression, which I think is more important. Um, and that's kind of what's important to me is like using my body to express rather than use it to get something, which I don't necessarily agree with. Um, and I don't think I would ever do. So I feel like in a way, I guess that like ties into the song because it's more about projecting that sexuality onto like my character and like my design instead of like projecting it because like, oh hi, I'm girl. Like, which is fine, like that's
Yeah.
definitely part of my identity, but that's not like the main point, I think.
No, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I mean, and I really, I admire that. I love the way you do things. Um, I think it's super unique. It feels unique to me. And just like learning more about your background and stuff. I admire like the intellect and like the thoughtfulness behind, the thematics and everything else you're doing. So yeah,
I
that's what I
think
had.
it, I think it's really relatable too because like we're all kind of turning into robots, like and
Mhm.
cyborgs. Like we all have
Mhm.
our phones, we have our computers, especially nowadays, we're just constantly hooked up to these things to if we
Mhm.
want to communicate with other humans. And and even into the future, like Elon Musk just went on Joe Rogan again and talked about his Neuralink, how he's gonna connect, our brains to the internet.
Mhm.
And
Which is
so
just that just sound he is so far out there, which is amazing, but like it's if you think about it, I actually read, and this goes back to what even some of the technologies and stuff you're working with. It's like you're right, even right now, how we're connected to the internet in a sense. It's like at one point in time when the internet didn't exist, you had to remember this knowledge, right?
Mhm.
You had to like keep it here.
Mhm.
But now we know so much, or we have access to so much. It's like the internet in a sense does become part of your brain, because now you
Mhm.
don't necessarily remember the thing you're trying to remember, but you remember where it is on the internet so
Yeah.
that you can access it, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
It's insane. I feel like the lines between like this like physical reality and this like digitally embedded reality are becoming blurred, and sort of we use these like technologies as aids for our like our brain and like as a piece of our brain, and we carry our phones with us everywhere. Does that mean it's like a piece of our body? At what point is it like a piece of our body?
Yeah,
So
it's definitely like it's an extension right now.
mhm.
I mean, and given our current reality, like it's 100% necessary.
Yeah.
Doctors are having doctors appointments with patients online. I mean, it really is a way, and it's a way to connect, and it has been for a long time, but now
Mhm.
it's critical. And I think people are realizing that it's not just for when you can't, but it's actually important anyway, because you can connect with people in this way and even have a great
Mhm.
interview like this
Yeah.
and learn amazing things about artists like you.
Yeah, and perform over the internet in my kitchen.
Yeah, and
Love
it was. I think it made a lot of people's Friday. It's a great way to cap off the week hearing your music. Um, you know, talk about. I mean, you played a lot of this. Everything you played today actually was unreleased stuff. Is that right?
Um, I think like only the Escapism EP and
That's right. The
Robosexual.
yeah.
And then everything else was unreleased.
Is
So the
is Made for You? Is that song not released yet?
That's not released yet, no.
I
But
love
I hope to
love
release
that
it
track.
soon.
That song is so dope. I think that was the first little clip that I heard. I think it was on Twitter or something like that. But that
Yeah.
is super dope.
Thank you.
So do you? I know it sounds like you're probably like many of us a little bit unsure when you can release some stuff. But what do you when do you hope to release? The unreleased stuff.
So I definitely have a date set. I'm looking at June 27th for, at the very least, a single. I have art for that single. So that is probably what's going to happen. And then I'll include either that single in either an album or an EP. It's like an in-between whether it's going to be an EP or an album, because I have about 8 songs that are done. So that's kind of up in the air, like whether or not I'm gonna like add 2 more and then make it like an album. So it's just like how long I want it to be and like how cohesive it's gonna be. I still have trouble like putting all the ideas together and then making one cohesive like idea, because I want it to be a really really like tight album or tight EP that like makes sense, like Escapism did. So I want to like really take my time and figure out what I'm gonna do with it.
Yeah, it
So-
definitely didn't seem hard with Escapism. I mean, it might have been hard on your end, but looking at it, the way that the art and the music and the vibes all just coincide
Mhm.
is so intentional and so matches up so well. It's just not many artists are able to do that. Like it's a lot of the times artists albums are just albums, but that really felt like one cohesive
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I really appreciate just the effort and the the quality that you put behind not just the music, but the organization of the whole image and the music and everything put together is really fantastic and inspirational for other artists to look up to. So I love what you're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it when we get to showcase an artist that is doing that kind of stuff. I think it is, to Max's point, it's super inspiring. Just the overall look of everything that you're doing is a lot of fun. It's but it's
you.
also like talking to you. It's very deep and thoughtful, and I love even going back to your planetarium experience and stuff like that. Like the spiritual part of it is really compelling too. And I think I appreciate all of that too. In terms of like live shows, I know you performed with a lot of people, and we had Veston Tyler on, and yeah, he's super fun. I can't think of like a better, more fun show to go to with like at least you two guys, and then of course whoever else you bring along, because
Yeah.
it's a cool crew. Talk a little bit about some of the people you perform with and who you're looking forward to performing with.
I guess I'm only doing virtual shows right now, so
That counts. Yeah, that too.
yeah. I don't have anything scheduled out for like physical shows, I think, until fall, but even then they're still up in the air. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Any virtual shows that you can that you have scheduled, like that we can bump?
Yeah, there's Heat Music Festival coming up. I believe it's hosted by Baked Up Co. and Night Engine. And that is Memorial Day weekend. So that's coming up. There's a pretty big lineup for that one. I know Veston Tyler's on it. I'm on it. I think Carpow is on that lineup too, if I'm not mistaken.
Awesome.
But that's coming up soon. I'm excited to play that one. I've never played like an online festival, and it's gonna be like a 75-minute set, so that's pretty long. So
Oh yeah.
I have some interesting things planned for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
You talked about performing at Necto, and you've performed, I think, at Club Above as well. I saw on your EPK. Talk a little bit about some of your live show experiences and what has been your favorite.
My favorite is because I had have a lot of good stories from it. Is probably when I played at Sacred Vibrations Music Festival last year. That was the first time I had gone to like an actual festival and played one. So that was definitely interesting. Sleeping in my car, setting up my mask like on the side with my ukulele and just like running some weird like processed vocal thing with my just like a ukulele and my vocals through my mask was just like really really fun. It just like felt really like DIY, and that was like a really really interesting experience. I also almost ran over one of my friends in my car, which was bad, but it was a
They
long
live
morning.
to tell about it, apparently. Yeah.
Yeah. What?
They live to tell about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love festivals too. I think that's one of the things, we're all going to really miss. Lots of festivals are being
Yeah.
canceled, but I really appreciate the fact that people are hosting online festivals, and shows. That's something that we're going to continue to do. We have some things up our sleeve, that we're talking about doing as well. And, just getting a bunch of people, together, virtually or in their cars. We're seeing people, as restrictions lift overseas, they're doing drive-in concerts.
Yeah.
I saw some footage from a DJ show in Germany.
Yeah, I saw
They're
that.
like 250 cars, right? And they're all honking their
Yeah.
horns, and that could be fun, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I want to do one that's Mad Max themed. If we all go to like a drive-in festival,
Absolutely.
That would be dope.
it needs
Totally
to be
down.
Mad Max themed.
Everybody, bring your Thunderdome cars, dress them up, and yeah, it's perfect, and it fits your vibe perfectly.
Yeah.
I think that it's really cool. Like, your music is so like movable and danceable, and feels so positive, but you also have like this juxtaposition of this sort of cyberpunk, which can kind of come off as like cynical or something like that. I guess I don't see it that way, and it sounds like you don't either. Is that accurate?
I'm definitely like, if I was in a movie, I would be one of those like neutral people, like Han Solo, where I'm like not on either side, and
Absolutely.
I'm just kind of
Love it.
vibing.
So
But-
that's your spirit animal. The
Yeah.
Han Solo is like
Han Solo.
yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you were a Star Wars character, which character would you be? Max, we got to ask you that question when you come on for your set. Which Star Wars character are you? I think we might actually have to put that in the mix. If you were a Star Wars character, which one would you be? So you're Han Solo. I love that. Neutral, and
Yeah.
you're just there to like fly your awesome spaceship and make your amazing music, and like blow people away with awesome like wearable technology.
Yeah. Yeah. Just sort of like, I feel like I visualize Allium as like this, like in the past, maybe like as a teen, she was like living on a like post colonization Earth. So like everyone had left Earth, and like Earth had become this like weird, like abandoned place. And then she has like all this wearable technology, and somehow she becomes like a stowaway on a spaceship, and she ends up finding her own spaceship, and she's really good at building stuff, so she starts building like masks and cool things. That's kind of like how I envision it.
I feel like a concept album coming on at some point, hopefully.
Yeah.
Right.
So there is a title for this like EP or album, and it's Dea Ex Machina, which is Goddess from the Machine in Latin.
Love
So
it.
that is sort of the concept I am developing right now.
It feels a little like Yoshimi battles the Pink Robots. If you're into that, that's total. Yeah, it's a different reference. Look it up.
I will.
It's a Flaming Lips record. That's a band that's been
Yeah.
around. But
Yeah.
if you listen to that record, it's a concept album. I think you'd really enjoy it. If you're not a Flaming Lips fan, check that one out.
I really like how you do that too. You have this whole world that you allow the listener to immerse themselves in, and It's just so dope. Like I think real or more people should try and do that. Like and now I want to do that. Like I don't know like the backstory of my character, you know what I mean? And I just think that's so sweet. Like just how deep, um, that stuff goes.
Thanks. Well, I listened to like a lot of like soundtrack music as a kid, and like Two Steps from Hell. So a lot of like movie trailer, like epic orchestral music. And I guess like eventually I would just start listening to that and like imagine like really cool scenery and like stories and things that would like go good with that. And so it started working in this way where I would make music and it kind of went backwards and be like, what story am I telling? And then like it would like feed into each other. So yeah, I'm in this phase where I like create visuals or like something visual with my music, and then I'll like finish the song after I create that like visual component. So it like feeds back into itself and becomes this like cohesive story slash song.
And that, I mean, that sounds like it's really just coming to you in a natural way, kind of organically for you. But it also turns out that that's just really smart as an artist, and from a marketing standpoint, it's amazing, right? Like being able to just have that cohesive piece. I think that's so cool. I think it's super certain that you're gonna do big things.
Oh, thanks.
I feel like you already are. I think you have an amazing career ahead of you. Whatever you choose to do, particularly with, I mean, you're talking about scoring films. Obviously as a live performer, you're amazing. We can't wait to see you live, like in person at a show. I know it might take some time, but
Yeah.
we know we definitely love to have you out to the studio when we can do that again, and we'll have some performance events happening as well. So a lot of things feel somewhat uncertain right now,
Yeah.
but is there anything in your mind that feels certain for you? Because I think a lot of us are trying to grasp on to those certain things, right? Like things like love. I mean, we've talked about some of those things, right?
Mhm.
But is there anything else that you'd share with the audience? Like what's certain for you?
Music. I feel like it's definitely always going to be there. Someone's going to be performing music, whether it's online or in person. Um, and I think that the way that there has been this giant influx of people like performing on Twitch is proof of that. That music will kind of like prevail and continue to exist. So like I'm still like I'm just sitting at home all the time, but like I still make a lot of stuff. I still make a lot of music. I'm still inspired, but I find that inspiration somewhere else. So another thing that's certain is inspiration. It's a little harder to find, but you definitely have to be a little more active in looking for it, but it's there. So that's kind of what I
How do
think is
you
certain.
actively search for inspiration? Because I like that. I haven't really heard that uh, phrase before. How what does that mean to you?
So when I feel like I'm having sort of like a block, I will either start like journaling or writing, like, and sometimes it'll turn into lyrics, or I really like going on Instagram and looking at a lot of people's artwork that they've done. So there are a lot of really, really good cyberpunk themed Instagram accounts that share just awesome art by different people. And like sometimes I'll like look at that and be like, wow, what if this was an album cover? Like what would that album sound like? And then that'll turn into like a song, and then like maybe the image will change in my head, and then it kind of like feeds into it like that. And there's like narratives that just kind of form by looking at imagery for me too. So I like looking at visual art a lot. That's definitely something that I think is really, really valuable to my creative flow. So
It's a great process. I love that. As someone, who creates myself, it's funny, but I've never done that before. Actually never let an image inspire me in that way. I
mhm.
totally I want to try it.
There's just like it'll just start talking to you. It just will. Like if you stare at it long enough, you'll start seeing like the story, and even if it's like not the real story, but there's like an emotion there's an emotion there. This is like, I'm going to totally go off on a tangent, but this is why I don't like social media, is because like you like stuff and then you like thumbs up things all the time, but you don't know why you do it. And it's sort of like an exercise on asking yourself, why do I like this thing? Why do I feel the way that I feel right now about this thing? It's like, it's a lot less stripped down than just like saying, oh, I like this. I like to ask why. That's like the very first point of inspiration for me.
I love that. I love the fact that you're asking why, and I hope more people continue to ask why.
It's really important to ask why.
100%. Totally nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, Max, do you have anything else? I think we could talk for hours for sure.
Yeah.
This has been an amazing interview. I'm like,
just thank you so much,
yeah, absolutely,
for doing this, and thank you for, blessing the world with your art and putting all that work in so that we can enjoy, what you've created. Thank you so much for everyone that has tuned in. We had tons of people tuning in, all across the board: Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube. So thank you all for tuning in, and yeah, it was amazing. I really appreciate your music and can't wait to see what comes next.
And
thank you so much.
For sure. And I just want to remind everybody that musicians and everybody, people have lost a lot of their income, and gigs and businesses have been shut down. There's a lot of people. We're doing our small part, but we do have a donation link open until midnight for this live stream. So if you're willing and you can share, please do that. It's been posted in on all the platforms. So we're gonna be back again on Sunday for a special Mother's Day live stream with Cat Stee, and we're gonna keep doing it. We do this every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Friday's always at like 4:00. But again, thank you so much for tuning in to everybody. Thanks to Allium, aka Tess. She's amazing. Check her out. Again, Tess Allium, AALLIUM.bandcamp.com. Great place to go listen to the music. Please do so, and share her music widely, because it's awesome.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm really excited for like the future, and these streams like help me stay sane. So thank you for doing this, not just like for me, but like for all of the artists and just like the fans and the people in the community.
We appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure for us too. It's great. We miss connecting with artists in real life too. So yeah. It's just as therapeutic for us, believe me. So we'll look forward to seeing you online, and I definitely know that we'd love to talk to you, invest in Tyler, and see if you guys want to do another thing.
That's
so
a cool one.
Yes. We have like a couple ideas. We wanted to do like a Zoom party set with some people, and it would like flip between different like people and fans. So we're brainstorming stuff right now. But
absolutely, if we can help support that in any way, love to help out, and be a support on that. It'd be super fun.
Well, I'll talk to him. Thank you so much, Rick and Max.
For sure. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. This is Grove Sessions. My name is Rick, co-founder and CEO of Grove Studios. Just here enjoying music on this Friday. Again, check out tessallium.bandcamp.com, grovestudios.space, and we'll see you guys on Sunday. Have a great night, everyone.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Peace, guys.